Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I've got you guys an update on some massive snowstorms that are really going to come into play as we get just into the last few days of this week. We've got many things to talk about just after maybe the biggest winter storm of the season, Winter Storm Finn, moved through the central and eastern U.S. That was a cross-country major snowstorm, just winter storm in general. This brought a full out blizzard to the Midwest, portions of the Midwest, and then we had severe weather outbreak in the Southeast, and then overnight Tuesday or last night, I should say, on the East Coast, we did have a damaged wind event, and I did feel some of that. We actually did receive gusts that were up to 60 miles per hour last night, so some big things that we just have left off of, but we already got some more energy coming around here. We've got a big winter storm entering portions of the western U.S. This is going to phase with a few pieces of energy to create this one big blizzard once again that's going to be impacting the Midwest. We're going to see some of this energy affected, but I think that really it's what's going to be coming up over here is going to be pushing off to the east, and then by tomorrow morning we should have a storm on our hands. All right, so yeah, just take a look at our radar. You can see we've got some light to moderate snowfall flying over portions of central Iowa. This is going into northern Illinois. This is probably going to bring a few inches of snow into the Chicago area. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the same for Milwaukee. All right, so maybe even some lake effect snow starting to come into play, even as far to the east as upstate New York. Other than that, we don't have much. Some heavy rain and snow though for the Sierras and then into Nevada. But that's pretty much it for the most part. All right. So take a look here at our current alerts, and we're still very active. We have alerts ahead of this big system coming up. We'll take a look. Let me move myself so you can see. All right. So you can see that in this blue shade, this is kind of this dark blue shade. We have winter storm watches out ahead of that big blizzard. I think these will be upgraded to winter storm warnings by tomorrow morning, but this is going out for areas all the way to the East Coast here, if you want to put it that way, because it's near the Great Lakes of Michigan, all the way out towards extreme northern Missouri into all of Iowa. The entire state of Iowa is under a winter storm watch, and some of Iowa is actually under a winter storm warning. This is going across the border of Iowa and Nebraska. Now, if you go into central Nebraska and northern Nebraska, you have winter weather advisories. I think those will be upgraded to winter storm watches. All right. But that's what we got going on in this like kind of green shade here. All right. If you look there, we actually do have what I believe is a wind chill watch. All right, that is interesting to see. We have a wind chill watch going out for areas of Kansas, and I actually, those aren't very common because number one, you only see them in the winter, but number two, it has to be very cold. But it is very windy today across areas of the central and eastern U.S., and it is very, very cold. A big cold front came in behind Winter Storm Finn, and it's just going to get colder. So right now we do have uh um what was it, wind chill watches. Sorry about that. All right. And then in this like light blue shade, this is the same for areas of North Dakota into Montana. This is where we have wind chill advisories, so it's a little bit less extreme. I think these might get upgraded as well, but definitely up towards North Dakota and Nebraska and Montana. I really am worrying about this big Arctic blast coming soon. All right. But if you go down into southern Texas, still very windy conditions, damaging winds still out there. You can see into the panhandle of Texas. We've got we've got high wind warnings. This is going out into southern New Mexico, and then some of southern Texas is also under a keep saying winter storm, high wind watch. Southeastern Arizona, I believe you guys are under a high wind watch, or it might be a high wind advisory. I'm not sure. All right, but areas just north of that, between Arizona and New Mexico, we have winter weather advisories. Pacific Northwest is just a mess. It's been a mess for a few days, but we'll start out here in California. Near the Sierras, we got winter storm warnings on the north side, advisories on the south side. All right, in this light blue shade, that's where you actually have freeze watches. All right, so it's getting very cold. You can notice it's very cold in the central and western half or portions of the country. All right, into Nevada, you can see this like it's a weird shade there. All right, you actually have a snow squall warning. All right, a snow squall warning. This is very rare. All right, you need dangerous snow squalls for the National Weather Service to issue this, but right now there are life-threatening bands of snow that are going to be moving through in Nevada into tonight, and right now some counties are currently under snow squall warning. So that means that driving conditions will be impossible. All right, because you probably won't be able to see about 5 feet in front of you. If you're inside of that snow squall warning. All right, surrounding areas got winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories. Just north of that, into southern Idaho, southern Oregon, you have winter storm watches. Into central and northern Idaho, you've got in the in the pink shade. Sorry, going out also for western areas of Montana into northeastern Oregon. You have winter storm warnings. All right, in this little shade here, this is, let me check, guys. These are wind chill warnings going out for northern Montana. All right, so it's already very very cold. It's already bone chilling cold out there, but it's just gonna get colder, and I'm afraid this is gonna be a life threatening situation. Just for our cold blast coming up for areas into Montana, but there's just a mix of alerts out here that are really the same. So I don't want to go I don't want to repeat all these alerts, but it's just a mix of these alerts. So you can pause the video, take a look at what seems to be in effect for your area. All right, so main alerts are the pink shade winter storm warnings, dark blue like this blue right here, for example. In Iowa, that's where we have winter storm watches. All right, winter weather advisories in the purple. All right, and so that's gonna be pretty much it for your alerts. All right, so taking a look here at the NAM 3 kilometer model, we're looking at the Northwestern U.S. We've got a big winter storm on our hands, guys. This is a blizzard for some of you, and we're talking about those big snow squalls in Nevada, and so we're going to be talking about that in today's video. All right, so looking at the West Coast right now, we can see we've got a pretty big storm moving on in. All right, we've got a lot of rainfall on the immediate coastline here, but that's going to quickly change over to snow, especially for those upper elevations. This is going to be a big mountain snow event, but I think surrounding areas will also see a big snowstorm, especially into Nevada. But look at this. I want you guys to watch this little this banding of snow setting up just over from the coast, the northern coast of California, all the way through northern Nevada. That is your band of snow squalls, and it's almost like a squall line. All right, it is a squall line because you know how these have snow squalls. A squall line is a line of precipitation. The gradient is very sharp, meaning that you're going to go from no precipitation at all, and then next minute you're going to be in whiteout conditions. In some cases, you're going to be in a damaging wind gust, embedded thunderstorm. All right, but you've got extremely heavy snow with this band, and you're inside of this band. You have snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. That is extreme, guys. But you can see it's snowing, light to moderate out there into areas of Wyoming, into southeastern Idaho, and then into portions of Oregon and Wyoming, or sorry, Oregon and Washington State. We also do have that snow, but notice how there's a little bit more rainfall than usual near the Sierras. I think there's a little bit more warm air aloft here, but there is cold air mixing with this. That's going to change a lot of the snow, or a lot of the rain back to snow. But for those non-upper elevations, it's going to be an extremely heavy, wet snow. But notice how we got through today. All right, this is 3 p.m. today. We're still at 3 p.m. today. Notice how this band quickly gets heavier, and I do think, I'm not sure about that. If we did have snow squall warnings for this area, but if I were the National Weather Service, I would issue snow squall warnings for this entire area because this is looking really intense, guys. When you see these purple shades here of snow, these aren't snowfall rates, but if you had, this pink shade of snow setting up in that same area for a few hours, you would most likely, I would say just for a day, really, you would end up with 14 inches of snow. That's your little bar here, your meter. All right. But we'll get through the rest of this evening. We'll take this out to where we are now. So right now it's about 9 o'clock Eastern time. So yeah, so that's where right now this is where we are. We have those snow squall warnings, and you can actually see that gradient gets very sharp right by that county that in Nevada that was under that snow squall warning, but that snow is very heavy and it's actually expanding. Not meaning, well, the line is expanding as well, but I'm meaning in width, all right, or in height, I should say. I mean, not height, but if you were to take it from north to south, because you can see, it used to end here. Now it's ending up here. All right, so it's getting a little bit bigger here, a little bit stronger. I think that snow is it's gonna hit hard. You're gonna get gusty winds as well. There's gonna be a little burst of gusty winds with this line here, and this is moving into the Sierras. So, guys, any mountains out here, the mountainous regions, you could get hurricane force winds with this, just because you're in the upper elevations. And you're going to get very heavy snow. But into tonight, that line, you can see it slowly starts to kind of break apart. So, maybe I'm not even sure if this exists, but if this watch exists, I think that the National Weather Service might issue snow squall watches for areas of southern Nevada. All right, it's possible. But that moves down south, getting into tonight. By tomorrow morning, everything should be shifted farther south, and you're going to get a little bit more low pressure that's going to try and bring some more snow into areas of western Montana and then into northern Idaho. But, after you get through that heavy band of snow, I really think that it's not going to be much of an impactful system. But it's really for the upper elevations there of Oregon and Washington State that are under those winter storm warnings. So please just be careful, even if you're not in the upper elevations, especially if you're under those winter storm warnings or those snow squall warnings. All right. So take a look here. We're looking at the north central United States. We're talking about this big blizzard that's coming up. I know everybody's probably sick of the snow by now. We probably had in some areas we probably had over 2 feet of snow in just like 5 days or something. That's literally insane. All right, but we're about to deal with and maybe another 2 feet of snow. All right, this one is going to be a real blizzard. All right, and this may be actually a bomb cyclone. We'll talk about what that means in a bit. All right, but you can already see that we have piece of energy flying around. It looks like this system is going to start to take shape already by where we are really right now. You got a 999 millibar low, and you've got a lot of heavy snow. Light to moderate snow. That's what we saw on the radar. This is all visible on the radar. This is all happening now. You've got also some lake effect snow starting to set up there for the areas along the Great Lakes. And we see what happens with that system, but it just kind of moves out. But it brings a fresh few inches of snow, and it serves as a good piece of energy that could help any other nearby storms forming. But that's going to bring a lot of snow into all of Michigan. Every single county in Michigan is probably going to be seeing snow tomorrow morning. So you're going to be waking up to pretty nice, just light to moderate snowfall along the Great Lakes. And that kind of falls apart. But here comes your system, all right? So we're getting into tomorrow. All right, this is tonight. Then we're getting into tomorrow. So waking up tomorrow morning, you're starting to see snow enter South Dakota and Nebraska. But watch as the system evolves. You got a low that's starting to form, and there it goes. All right, now it's starting to take that track that looks more favorable for a storm. You've got a lot of snow showing up. This is starting out as an all snow event for areas of the high plains. This is going all the way down to northern Texas, going up through central and western Kansas, and then into Nebraska and South Dakota. But watch as this continues to get a little bit stronger and a little bit bigger. You're starting to see that negatively tilted trough kind of starting to try and form. All right, it's got a lot of snow on the north side, though. This is going to be affected by that cold air, but it's bringing up a lot of warm air. You can even see these isobars. All right, they're kind of moving up like this, almost in a dome, like a ridge kind of look. It's pumping a lot of moisture up into the system, and that's going to cause for rainfall into areas of southern and central Missouri. This could come in as rainfall as far north as northern Missouri as that low takes that northerly track. We were tracking this, a few days ago, and we were trying to figure out if this was going to take a track like this, or if it's going to take a track like that. And we found our answer. It's going to take the northern track. That's usually what happens when you track winter storms. They usually take the northern track instead of the southern track. But you see a lot of rain setting up on the south side. These could be thunderstorms, but I'm thinking that this is just going to be, probably bands of heavy rain that are going to be moving through southern Illinois into areas of far eastern Missouri, but this is going to bring a lot of very heavy rain into St. Louis. I think St. Louis could actually pick up maybe multiple inches of rain from the system, All right, you're starting to see a little bit of freezing rain, some heavy into north central, but off to the west of Illinois, and then into southeastern Iowa. But a lot of now moderate to heavy snow starting to impact the rest of Iowa. This is impacting southern Minnesota, the Dakotas, and then into eastern Nebraska. But this for these areas, I think that this is going to stay as an all snow event. All right, but I want you guys to continue to watch this low pressure. This low pressure here, you notice how it has a little bit of a number, or it's got a number on top of it. You've definitely heard me talk about this. If you've been watching me for a few weeks or a few months by now, you've probably heard me talk about this. This is our low pressure signature, which basically is the center of our storm, what's controlling it. The lower this number gets, the lower the pressure is, the stronger the storm is. But watch as this continues to develop how strong this gets. So we're getting into tomorrow morning, and so by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, you're waking up to a very heavy, wet snow for areas of far northern Illinois. It's going to be very close, but I do think that this could come in as a quick hour or two of very heavy snow for Chicago. It's going to quickly change over to freezing rain, and then it's just going to go to rain. All right, but this is going to be very heavy for areas of northern Illinois. All right, this is going to be heavy for the rest of the Midwest. All right, so I'm watching for heavy snow into this entire area, but these guys, I think just this entire splash of blue that you see here on your screen, this just entire pocket of snow, I think it's going to be very heavy. I think it's just going to be substantial. All right. And so you can see that rainfall is really starting to get a little bit more intense down to areas of Kentucky through Indiana and then into southern Missouri and then into Arkansas. But look at this. You see that little blue on the backside? All right, that is snowfall, and that's into Arkansas, northern Arkansas, and southern Missouri. That could actually be the start of our backside our backside snow or rain snow changeover, I should say. So this could be one of two things. This could be that cold air diving down into the backside of the system, changing that rain over to snow, or this could be just cold air aloft that is still left in the storm's atmosphere, and that's why we see that snowfall. I think that's very uncertain. You can see it's very light and very just like, kind of isolated. All right, so I think that's a question mark still. That might happen, might not happen, but it does appear that that's going to be the start of your backside snow. But notice how this low has deepened a lot. It's now a 984 millibar low. It goes from a 992 to a 984 in just a few hours. And so by the time we get to the middle of the night tomorrow night into Friday, we've got very heavy snow. This is a all-out blizzard for areas of southern Wisconsin. I'm watching for very dangerous conditions, very dangerous travel conditions late Friday night. All right, for anybody who's in the upper Midwest, please stay off those roads. If you are trying to travel, just don't do it. All right, make sure that you're coming home from work on the early side. All right, Friday night, especially if you're in the upper Midwest. Any county in Wisconsin really needs to pay attention to this. All right, but you can see this low is continuing to deepen as the storm gets bigger and gains intensity. You're going to have very heavy wet snow for areas of northwestern Ohio. This is mixing in with a little bit of freezing rain that's going to enter portions of Michigan. But here we go. All right, this is when it starts to bomb out. Is like what I like to say. This is when we're calling this a bomb cyclone. This low here, this low pressure is going to get very strong dramatically. All right, it's been dropping a lot, but it's going to get very, very very, very low. But you've got very heavy snow, blizzard conditions for some in this entire area. This is questionable, but this would be a very extremely heavy wet snow for areas of northern Indiana into northwestern Ohio. This is going to be late afternoon Friday. All right, and you would most likely see a little bit of backside snow into central Illinois. But just watch as that low continues to get stronger. 979 millibar low. That is crazy strong for a winter storm. This is starting to come into Michigan as a real deal winter storm. This I mean, I think this is going to be the area that's going to be seeing potentially blizzard conditions. It's going to be right into here, and I do think we might see some lake effect snow. But guys, the NAM, all right, is when the NAM 3 kilometer model is not showing a high resolution, got kind of just run, all right, especially on a snowstorm. That tells you that this is going to be a very impactful snowstorm. But this number continues to drop. It's a very dynamic system. But look at this, 975 millibar low. That is crazy. 973 millibar low. Imagine if this gets not sub 970, guys. That I mean, I have never seen that before. This is going to get so strong so fast. It's going to be crazy. But you've got strong winds coming out of the north. These will be gusting to 30 to 40 miles per hour. That's going to lead to whiteout, all out blizzard conditions, dangerous travel conditions, guys. Friday into Saturday, because we're getting into Saturday. This is Friday into Saturday. It's still snowing very hard into areas of Wisconsin. It's now snowing. It's now snowing in all areas of Indiana and into Illinois. All right. And so this low is going to continue moving to the northeast, and we end this run of the NAM because we ran out of model time, but we end it on a 973 deepening low. All right. That's going to be moving up. It's ejecting across the Midwest, and you've got just a massive band and just horrible mess of snowfall. This is going to be an all-out blizzard. All right, this will be a blizzard, and I'm going to show you guys why in just a moment. But you've got rainfall in the warm sector of this, which will be in the northeast, because still got storms tailing off to the south, which we'll talk about in a bit. But wow, is that going to be a strong system? All right, I might have talked a little bit too much and a little bit too long on that system, or just that mono run there. But I quickly want to take a look at these snowfall totals, because guys, this is just insane how much snow could fall from the system. So we start out back here into areas of Nebraska. We're going for 6 to 8 inches of snow for areas towards the border. Even into central Nebraska, I would argue that you could see up to 5 inches of snow. All right, I think that these totals are a little bit overdone. All right, the NAM usually hypes up these snows a lot. But I think that this would only be overdone for a few inches, because I think the models are starting to kind of lock in here on multiple feet of snow potentially in some areas. But going into um, central Iowa here, we can see widespread in this pink and purple shade. That's basically 6 to 8 inches of snow with some locally higher amounts in the central Iowa, maybe up to 10 inches. All right, and then especially off to the border of Illinois and uh, definitely off to Wisconsin, you could be dealing with up to a foot of snow. All right, but if you're down towards the border of Iowa and Missouri, into Missouri, you're going to see those lighter amounts. Only for northern Missouri, you're going to see the accumulations. If you're in St. Louis, all right, it doesn't look likely that you're going to see anything, but there's a small signal for an inch or two of snow right around you. But for some scattered areas in northern uh, Missouri, there's a chance you could see an inch of snow, but it's really for extreme northern Missouri, especially northwestern Missouri, where you see snowfall totals that, well, basically measurable snow. But going into central Illinois, we're talking about 1 to 3 inches. Some, higher amounts may be done here into southwest central Illinois. Excuse me. But if you go into northern Illinois, this is where you get hit hard by those totals. We're going for 19 inches of snow in Chicago, guys. This is not going to be historic, because obviously you guys have dealt with much worse. But this is going to be a blizzard. I think this is going to be a blizzard for Chicago, but over a foot of snow, several inches. Somebody out here is going to see a few inches over half a foot of snow. Because remember, half foot of snow is 18 inches. So I would say if you're off to the west, but you're still inside this pink shade, expect right around 14 inches. But I think if you're right towards the border of extreme, like the northeastern tip or point of Illinois, and then right up towards Wisconsin, you could be dealing with maybe up to 2 feet of snow. All right, 2 feet of snow would be. It's. I don't think it's out of the picture. I think I'm hyping that up a little bit myself, but I think that we're really going to be locked in here with over 24 hours of moderate to heavy snowfall in this area. But for just the general area of northern Illinois, I would expect right around a foot, but especially, once again, if you are in this red shade, expect a foot plus of snowfall. And we'll talk about the other areas soon, but this is a big area I'm watching for. Maybe the heaviest totals, but there's still some areas to watch. All right. So going into Wisconsin, this may be the leading state with totals, but you can see that there's another state we gotta talk about. All right, so central Wisconsin going for right around a foot. If you're west of central, or if you're in western and northern Wisconsin, you could be dealing with right around, I would say 8 to 10 inches. Some areas may see a little bit less snow, but if you are anywhere in southern or eastern Wisconsin, just hunker down, get ready for a foot plus of snow. Even as far north as the UP of Michigan, look at this, 22 inches of snow. I mean, we're talking about 2 feet all the way up to the UP of Michigan and beyond. All right, so this is going to be a widespread area that's going to be seeing blizzard conditions, and I think this entire area has a shot at seeing, up to at least up to a foot and a half. Some areas will see 2 feet of snow. Now we go into Michigan. All right, this is where the NAM is showing the heaviest amounts. This is where the NAM is really putting the hammer down. All right, we can see northern Michigan talking about 15 to 17, 18 inches of snow. I mean, I'm just spitting out ridiculous totals, but this is going down to central Michigan. This could get right around 15 inches, but it's this tiny pocket here, 29. What is this? We just flashed 29, I think. 28 inches of snow. All right, that is insane. All right, so 2 feet of snow would be 24 inches. So this is 2 feet and 4 inches of snow. This would shut down those roadways. I think roadways will be shut down. This would shut down cities. All right, for areas of uh Michigan, but this snow is going to be very, very heavy, and this is going to be lasting such a long time. But 28 inches in that orange shade. But wow, is that going to be impactful? So all of central and western Michigan, I'm watching for well over a foot of snow. I think in some areas we'll certainly see 2 feet of snow. In some areas, maybe even see above 2 feet of snow. Now going to eastern Michigan, don't let your hopes get down. I think you're still going to get a substantial winter storm. Anybody could get 8 to 10 inches in this area. It's just not going to be nearly as impressive as areas off to the west of you. All right, in the northern oh my gosh, northern Indiana. All right, things could get interesting. All right, we're talking about a foot right now, but I think some areas will see heavier amounts. All right, and then this digs deep into central Indiana, where we can see this corridor of 1 to 3 inches. But if you're right by the border, like literally right on the border of Indiana and Michigan, you could be talking about maybe a foot of snow if you get lucky. All right, into central. Finally, I just want to wrap this up. But if you go into central and southern sections of Minnesota, central Minnesota, I would say 2 to 4 inches. But if you're in southern Minnesota, definitely 5+ inches of snow. But obviously if you're closer to these areas that are going to see the heavier snow, which is off to your southeast, you're going to be dealing with the heavier amounts, and the NAM is in support of up to 10 inches of snow for some of these areas. So, guys, that is an impactful system that we're watching, and that is not done. The forecast for this is not over. All right. So now we talk about severe weather once again. We meet the SPC outlook for the second time or third time or whatever, fourth time in a few straight days, and we have yet again another potential for a life-threatening severe weather outbreak. All right, so this is the day 2 outlook for today. All right, so this is for tomorrow. We have a slight risk for severe weather, nothing crazy, but we definitely have a risk. All right, this is in this yellow shade. This is going down from central and southern sections of Arkansas into portions of eastern Texas, central and northern Louisiana. You've got Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, Little Rock, Arkansas, Jackson, Mississippi, and Mesquite, Texas. Mesquite, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, so please let me know in the comments. Surrounding areas of that, you got the marginal risk, which is level 1 out of 3, 1 out of 5 risk. Not really expecting any big time storms other than into the slight risk, but we may see some stronger storms. But I really don't think we're going to see any widespread severe storms with this. Tornado threat is slightly elevated. You got 5% risk, same area of that slight risk, and then surrounding areas, you're in that 2% risk. All right. But you've got Lufkin, Texas, Shreveport, Alexandria, Louisiana. You got Greenville, Mississippi. You've got Little Rock, Arkansas. So some big names out there, some big populated areas. Same thing for the damaging wind risk. Got a 15% risk for damaging wind gusts in that slight risk area, and then surrounding areas of that, you've got the 5% damaging wind gust risk. Hail threat, it's actually more elevated than what we saw with Winter Storm Finn, so now we're back up to a 15% risk. But it's a little bit off to the west. So now this is including Little Rock, but areas of southwestern Arkansas down through eastern Texas, and then the areas in northwestern Louisiana. All right, so that was your day 2 outlook. This is what we're expecting tomorrow. I'm not very concerned about tomorrow because I think the Cape levels aren't going to be high until this gets into the Carolinas, and this is where I am very concerned. All right, guys, I think there's a potential for a life-threatening severe weather outbreak in the southeast. All right, we have an enhanced risk 3 days out, which is a level 3 out of 5 risk. So this has 2 days really to change because by tomorrow this will be the day 1 outlook. All right, but wow. All right, that's all I'm going to say with this. All right, we have such confidence here in this severe weather, and we have an enhanced risk. And this is for a big area. This is going up from areas just to the east of Charlotte, so really the entire Charlotte area, and then down through central South Carolina. This is including Columbia, South Carolina. Wow, central South Carolina, so right in the middle of South Carolina, big populated areas, but down through central Georgia, you've got Columbus, Alabama, or Georgia, I'm not sure. All right, you've got Savannah, Georgia, Savannah, South Carolina, I'm not sure. I'm right on the edge of that enhanced risk, but this is going into Alabama. Now you've got Dothan, or not sure, I think that's Dothan. All right, and then areas just to the south of Birmingham, Alabama. All right, got total population of 9.1 million people. So that's a big populated area. You got 20 million people almost for that slight risk. So big difference there. But you can see surrounding areas under the slight risk. That's a level 2 out of 5 risk. And then surrounding areas, which is a little different. This goes up into areas of Kentucky towards the Ohio Valley. All right, instead of just surrounding that slight risk entirely. So that severe weather threat could actually shift a little bit farther north. That's a possibility. All right, but I would say that really the main concern is in the enhanced risk and some areas in that slight risk. Now, if you look at the probabilistics, these are the percentages of severe weather. We don't have the specifics yet, but I do think that it's going to be pretty intense, or it's not going to look pretty tomorrow. All right, but we have a 30% hash risk for severe thunderstorms in that enhanced risk area. Surrounding areas, you got the slight risk, which is level 50, which is a 15% chance of severe thunderstorms, and then that marginal risk is a level 5%. All right, so that was the SPC outlook. Now this is going out from yesterday here. This is yesterday's outlook: tornado threat, damaging wind threat, hail threat, and this is Friday's outlook. Probabilistically, you've got a 30% hatch risk. All right. So if you're wondering what the day 4 outlook looked like, you don't really have much. Day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, you don't have any threat for severe weather. All right. So now we look at what's going to be happening with the severe weather. Why is it happening? And we're going to break it down right here. All right. So this takes a long time to come in, but notice how there's just this group of bubbles. All right. These are your prefrontal supercells. They're not supercells yet, but they're little babies that are starting to grow, if you want to put it that way. That's kind of put that in a weird progression of words, but you could definitely see that the moisture content is going to get hot. It's going to get a little bit bubbly out there into the deep south. And notice how you start to see that precipitation starts to get going and bam, look at this. You got thunderstorms starting to fire up across portions of eastern Texas. Here you go. This is your slight risk. This is what's driving that slight risk. We're getting to 5 a.m. So we're going to have storms bright and early tomorrow morning. Or, sorry, not tomorrow morning, Friday morning. All right. So, I mean, this is for tomorrow. The NAM, not really picking up on anything. All right. This is tomorrow morning, guys. All right. This is tomorrow morning. I want to go back to the SPC outlook. So, 1 second, guys. Let me go back. So I just looked back at the SPC, and I'm just confused because the NAM is not picking up on anything out here. I mean, we'll go through the whole day. The NAM is just picking up on a few stray showers. I don't even see any storms, so I don't know what the heck the NAM is doing out here. Let me look at the FV3 high resolution model, and yeah, the FV3 high resolution model isn't picking up on. All right, it's getting a little bit. All right, so we'll take this. All right, so we'll look at the FV3 high resolution model first, and then we'll go back to the NAM. All right. So starting out, I mean, it's gonna take until 8 p.m. tomorrow night Eastern time, I believe, for these storms to start. But here we go. These are your discrete supercells. These could be tornado makers right here. I think these could be rotating some of these. All right. But this is going to be a late night tornado threat. All right. But watch this does not form a damaging wind gust line. But then finally getting into tomorrow, here we go, and I'll switch this back to the NAM. And you can see these storms really starting to bubble up across portions of Arkansas into Missouri, and then maybe as far north as southern Illinois. But then getting into Friday, this is 9 a.m. Friday, or waking up Friday to some big time storms moving through portions of western Tennessee into northern Mississippi. All right, these aren't severe storms yet, I wouldn't say, but these will definitely get strong. Notice how you also do have a lot of rainfall, which is another sign for some moisture starting to build up into the Carolinas. There is a very good environment for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes in this area. Very good, meaning that it's going to be supportive of tornadoes. Very bad, meaning that we don't want tornadoes. But it's going to happen, guys. And we're getting into 5 p.m. This is 5 p.m. Friday. So right around dinner time, you've got a squall line trying to form over areas of Texas, Tennessee, all the way down through northwestern Georgia. And then you're starting to see some bubbles starting to form, which are supercells forming into the Carolinas. All right, the NAM not doing a great job. I really am not. I'm kind of sick of the NAM, the OZ, the 18Z not even showing much either. So we'll go back to the FV3 high resolution model. All right, and here you can see it much better. All right, but here they come. I mean, these. I know they can't. You can't really see them, and you can see them, but they just don't look like much. But I'm telling you guys, these you can't ignore them. These storms are what's driving that enhanced risk. These are going to be rotating. Each and every one of these storms are going to be rotating. And it's right into the Carolinas. There's that squall line trying to form on the backside. This is getting into late evening hours of Friday into the overnight hours, and you have a nocturnal tornado threat for North Carolina. All right, that storm is moving to the northeast. But watch as we go. This is tomorrow here. There's your storms firing up, but there we go. That's a big line of storms, and this could drive a damaging wind gust potential. This is bowing out here. A little bit of a bow echo starting to form. That's what we call. That's another word for basically our squall line. We see a bow echo on the models here, but this is bowing out because you got these strong winds coming out of the northwest, and that's pushing on the backside of that system. You could actually see some heavy snow could build into areas of northwestern Arkansas because of that cold air. But that finally moves out this entire system by Saturday morning. All right. So we look at our current. These are our current Cape, projections here on the NAM. And maybe we'll look at the FV3 high resolution model because the NAM isn't doing a great job, I don't think. All right, and we'll look at the 12Z run here. All right, and so we can actually see as the system moves in, we can actually already see Cape levels building here in this purple shade. We're getting to about 1,800 joules per kilograms Cape. That's enough to support and at least start some strong to severe storms. But here's that just massive plume of moisture and supportive, instability coming up from the Gulf. Wow, I gotta change that color. Hold up. Which is chill out. Yeah, so this is a bunch of instability, all right, and just just a bunch of juice, all right, coming up from the Gulf of Mexico up ahead of these systems and these storms, and this is really what's just going to be the driving pattern for these storms. And here we go. I mean, when you see these little purple shades, or sorry, these pink shades actually, we're getting right around 2,000 joules per kilogram of Cape. That's enough to support and carry on severe thunderstorms. But this starts to build into the Carolinas. You can actually see it starting to happen a little bit. All right, but the models just aren't doing a great job on picking up on these Cape levels. But I do like what the NAM is showing actually for the Carolinas, because you can see these little shades of red starting to show up. We could actually see a little bit of a darker purple and a little bit of red showing up there. Those are Cape levels are getting right around 2,000 to 2,400 joules per kilograms. That is above average. That is definitely enough to support big time storms, and we see this actually persist in North Carolina, those Outer Banks. Look at that. Now we're seeing, maybe 2,500. All right, so yeah, I do think that there is going to be a substantial threat for maybe long track supercells. I wouldn't say long track tornadoes, but strong tornadoes. We just got to see what the SPC outlook is going to look like for tomorrow and see if that tornado threat is going to be highest or if it's going to be that damaging wind threat. But yeah, a lot of energy and a lot of Cape instability coming up from the Gulf out ahead of the system, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw similar amounts or similar levels of Cape build up into northern Florida as well. All right, so we're done with that system. All right, that was a big update, guys. We're 41 minutes in, but what's happening behind it? We still got some crazy weather to talk about. We've got a big signal for some big time storms coming up. So here comes your system. That's just a big overview of what's happening. There's your just blizzard conditions in the upper Midwest, big severe weather outbreak in the south. That moves up in the northeast. All right, what comes after that? You've got a big dip in the jet stream. All right, this is a big dip in the jet stream. We call this a boundary. All right, a boundary of cold air. At this point, it's not even a cold blast. All right, but you've got a clear supply of cold air coming down, and this is the beginning of your Arctic outbreak. This is going to be a historic Arctic outbreak, starting with this pattern. You've got cold air, and this pattern is completely supporting of cold air. All right, because you've got high pressure. This high pressure blocking is going to be key for storms to be pushed farther south. They're going to be bogging down farther south, riding the jet stream, and that's going to allow for cool, dry air to come down from the north. And we can already see a big storm coming into the western U.S. Here it comes. It comes through the eastern U.S. We are watching a signal for a snowstorm in the east. All right, this is by Monday of next week. We have a storm that's bringing some light snowfall into the Appalachian Mountain region. All right, and then that's moving out. But you've got a second piece of energy trying to do something in the southeast. Nothing's looking crazy until we can finally start to see a little bit of snow starting to come up for the northeast. But the 18Z GFS, not active at all, really. I want to look at the 12Z because I think the 12Z just, overall, I think it's going to be very active times coming up. So I want to look at the 12Z because it's showing the most active times out of the GFS runs that came out today. So you can see the difference between the 18Z and the 12Z GFS. The 12Z GFS in favor of a big snowstorm in the northeast. This would be bringing a lot of heavy snow to the areas on the I-95 corridor, and this is getting pretty close. We're getting to Tuesday of next week, and that's going to bring heavy. That could bring heavy snow to the northeast. I wouldn't count on that, but I wouldn't count that out. All right, I think that's still a possibility. All right, we just got to see how this plays out. This upcoming pattern. All right, but that moves out. What's happening behind it? Well, we see another piece of energy, maybe a clipper, starting to try and phase with that piece of energy on the Gulf, and they do, but it's just too late. These happen too late, but you got big time cold air spilling into the eastern U.S., big cold blast coming, and then we're getting into La La Land here, but let's see if there's any storm signal behind it, and yes, there is. We get another storm coming up. All right, so that was a pretty active GFS run. I think that after this big system, we're not going to see any huge snowstorms, but I think we're going to still have a potential for some substantial snowstorms in some areas. All right, so this is the 24-hour GFS snowfall totals, this is a great model run to look at for a snow signal. All right, and so you can actually you can see it. This system coming in. This is our blizzard coming into the Midwest. You can see we're seeing those widespread, foot to 2 foot of snow totals there. All right, and so that is moving on out. Here comes that second system out of the west. We see what happens there. We can see a snow signal dig deep into the south, the deep south, getting into as areas as far south as Arkansas, getting a substantial storm. Can that make it to the East Coast? Well, it can't really, because it loses that intensity, but it still could go. We still could go for a few inches, and here we go. I actually do see a small signal for maybe some snow in the Northeast. All right, and then we see what happens behind that. There's that second or the third system. All right, coming in, just some scattered piece of energy. Nothing looking that big. We're getting far out at this point, but you get what I mean. There's a good signal for snowstorms, and if you look at the track and the pattern of these storms, they're all kind of moving like this. They're all kind of moving like this. All right, I think that this is going to be the jet stream pattern that we're going to be in for the next week or up to a week and a half. It's because of these continuous dips in the jet stream, guys. It's the cold air that's going to be really driving that pattern. All right. So we looked at our snowstorms, we looked at the GFS. Now we look at the cold air. This is going to be a historic Arctic outbreak that I've been talking about for probably 2 weeks by now. I've been talking about just the models, the GFS specifically, just going crazy on big time cold air in January. I wasn't sure exactly how strong this would be, but I was just getting close. We were getting closer and closer to that time frame, and here we are. All right. So this is a 6 to 10 day temperature outlook for January 16th to 20th. So this would be after this cold blast arrives to the northern United States. So just remember that this would be coming in to the northwest. All right, and this would definitely be driving that 90 to 100% chance of seeing below average temperatures. All right, but this is showing what's going to be happening after that. How far is this going to dig down this cold air? And we can actually see now it's getting as far south and as far west as now we can see into areas of central Missouri. We still have I believe this is a 90 to 100% chance of below average temperatures in this right in this area. Notice St. Louis, Missouri, right in the middle of that risk. That's crazy, guys. All right, but look at this. If you look at this, this is likely below average. This is certain. This is almost certain that this is going to happen, but we have an 100% chance of below average temperatures in this dark, intense dark blue shade. But the surrounding areas, you can notice it's very abundant. It's very wide. It's very big. That's an area that's going to be 80 to 90% chance that's going to be seeing that below average temperatures. Surrounding areas, it gets a little bit lower. All right, but even though it only says 30 to 40% chance, or 40 to 50 out in the Pacific Northwest, that's just because this has advanced past the Northwest. All right, that's not big. This is not the forecast for when this is going to be in the Northwest. This is just showing you what's happening beyond that as it arrives to different areas. But I think the central United States and the eastern United States is about to get into a very big cool down. But first, this is going to be impacting the Northwest. All right, that's what we're going to be talking about right here. All right, so we look at the European model. We're looking at our current projected temperature anomalies. So this is telling us where our above average and our below average cold and warm air is. So here we can already see it approaching. We're seeing very cool temperatures getting into the west. We're arriving with cold temperatures already by tomorrow. All right, and so when does the cold air arrive? Here we go. We're getting into Friday, and we already have temperatures getting down to 30 degrees below historical average in Montana. If you click for sounding, guys, that's already negative 26 degrees. That's crazy. Negative 26 degrees is just, that's very cold. This is not even in the United States yet completely. Look how cold it is. Those tan shades, we're getting 40 degrees below historical average. So if you're on average here in the mid, if you're on average in Montana, if you're on average like 10 degrees, all right, and you're 40 degrees below it, negative 53 degrees. Oh my gosh. This is going to be so intense. And guys, for if you're in the upper elevations of Montana, all right, it's going to be dangerous cold. This is going to be life-threatening cold for the Midwest and the northern tier of the country. But this continues to move down. We're getting to Sunday of this weekend. We still have a historic Arctic blast spilling into the central United States, is going all the way down to the Gulf Coast. This is going to cause major problems. But wow, I mean, it's just incredible taking in how cold this air will get, and it's just Montana. I'm so worried for Montana right now, just based off the sounding that I've just clicked for 7 a.m. Saturday morning. It may feel like negative 40 degrees to negative 60 degrees in some areas. I'm not even joking. If you look at the temperatures here, I mean, look at that. Look at that. Negative 22 degrees. I mean, this is crazy, guys, how cold it's going to be. I mean, this is insane cold that we're seeing here. These intense purple shades. Guys, it's not supposed to be this cold. This is way past what we should be at right now. But this is actually all because of the polar vortex. If you look at our North American side of things, this pattern change that we've been flipping into for January, now it's coming into play. This is affecting all our weather in the lower 48. You're starting to see the warm air that we were experiencing in December. That's all shifting to the northern hemisphere. This is shifting over to eastern Canada rather than western Canada. Now western Canada is in a cold state, and it's sending down from the polar vortex. The polar vortex has shifted to this region, and it's just going to be sending down wave after wave of cold air. But you've got a perfect cold air supply here. Massive dip in the jet stream. It's just perfect. All this cold air can flow right in, and you don't see any sign of some blocking or ridging starting to form. It's just these are perfect conditions for just a massive Arctic outbreak. So we continue the run, and the cold air continues, and we get a second shot of cold air later into January before things may start to warm up soon. All right. So for the last part of the update, we look at just how cold it might be. I don't want to scare you guys from this, but this is such a convincing run of the European model that this is actually very scary. This is scaring me myself. How cold we're looking at these. This is not your actual temperatures. These are how cold and how warm in some areas it feels like. All right. But watch as the cold blast comes in. All right. Here we go. This is coming into Montana. We'll stop it right here. Look at this. Negative 62 degrees. We could get down to 60 degrees below zero for it's going to be so cold. You can't stand outside. You can't stand outside. You're going to get hypothermia if you stand outside for like 5 minutes. That's how cold it's going to be. You have to stay warm. I know it's not a populated area, but you have to stay warm. You can't. This is life-threatening cold. You can't survive this outside. I don't care how many layers you have. You just can't do it. It's too cold. I know it's up into Canada, but negative 65 degrees is just so crazy. All right. But for the surrounding areas of Montana, even out towards areas of North Dakota, South Dakota, into Wyoming, we're still talking about temperatures getting down to, or real fields getting down to negative 30 to negative 40 degrees. But even you can already see that line of that cold air. We're already seeing well below freezing real fields out here, and then in the upper Midwest, we're already talking about real field temperatures getting down negative 20 to negative 30 degrees. But that cold air advances, and now it's impacting the north central United States, and you don't see the same extreme cold, but you see very, very cold temperature. Not the same level, but extreme cold. It's still moving into the northern U.S., and this is extending all the way from west to east. Look at that. We're at 11 degrees in New York City, all right, and then up towards Spokane and Seattle. You're at the same real field temperature, all right. So this is just insane how cold it's going to be, and you can see that I actually kind of shifts over from here in the northwest over to the east. So it's all going to be shifting over to the east, but it's not going to be. Luckily, it's not going to be as intense for the eastern U.S. But we end the run on a loud note here. There's a big signal for more cold air to arrive, but this time for the eastern U.S. And finally, we start to see a little bit of, just warmer air start to enter the western U.S. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. That was a very long update. That might have actually been the longest update I've ever done. Big time weather coming up. All right, we got a big time cold blast coming up. I will continue to keep you guys updated on, whatever's going to be happening with this, whatever the models are saying. Stay safe tonight. Well, really not tonight, but definitely tomorrow, Friday, and then into this weekend, guys. That blizzard is coming up. It's going to be hitting hard. Stay home. Stay off those roadways. I'll try and get an update in for you guys tomorrow. It might not happen, but there's still a chance for it. All right. And as always, I'll keep you guys posted on whatever happens weather-wise across the country. So thank you all for coming to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.